Hello, everyone, and time for another episode of Weather University. As always, I'm Matt DiNardo, and I'm never here alone because I love to bring in my friend and colleague, Jacqueline Waters. Good morning, Jacqueline.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, everyone.
So the big story, of course, nationwide has been those absolutely horrific California wildfires here. We're going to bring those up there, and you can see, utter devastation, Jackie. We're talking about, you were looking up some of the numbers there, thousands and thousands of acres. What are the numbers off the top of your head? Do you remember?
14,000 was the Eaton fire. And then I believe, I don't want to get it wrong.
It's the Palisades fire?
Yeah, it was 2,000.
I thought you said 30,000. Does that sound right?
23,000.
23,000.
23,713 acres.
And you know, the National Guard is in. They're grabbing water out of the Pacific. They're trying to douse these flames. They're doing everything they can to make this something to save whatever they can. It really is pretty tough when you look at some of these pictures. And as many of you know, my family lived out in California for a while. I go out there quite a bit, so I'm familiar with some of these areas. So with that, we want to talk about what's going on. I'm going to bring Jackie back up here for a quick second. And Jackie, I think the thing that I want to talk about with you as we get to this, we can see what it looks like right now out in Los Angeles. Looks pretty quiet at the present time.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if I'm just seeing it, but do you see like the corner of the box? I don't know if everyone else could see that. Just drag it over.
Oh, I don't know if anybody could see that.
Maybe it's just what I could see.
Oh, I think you can see it. Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
It's no big deal.
But yeah, this is a current look right now. Los Angeles Airport. It's a very busy airport. I don't think Atlanta's, I think, the busiest in the country.
So yeah, in terms of travel, Atlanta is the busiest. Dallas-Fort Worth is the biggest. This is a very large airport serving a large portion of California. Pretty incredible stuff. Before we get into kind of the look here, let's just talk about these fires and to where they are. So bring up another shot. So you mentioned some of the fires here. This is Topanga and Topanga Canyon. Here's Malibu. Pepperdine University is off of this. And this Topanga State Park, estimated population in that whole area is 30,000, which is not that big when you think of Los Angeles. Everything in red is mandatory evacuations. This is Mulholland up here. This is all where the rich and famous of Hollywood live. Yeah. You knew I was going to do something there. But really, you've seen widespread devastation, and this is only one area, Jack.
I know. Honestly, it's been hard for me to watch. It's sad just seeing people trying to fight for their lives with a garden hose and just how many people are impacted by it. It's really hard to watch.
It really is tough. And then there's a second fire out in Altadena, which is just north of Pasadena, coming down from Mount Wilson. And all of this, and we're going to get into the whys and the how did this happen in this Weather University, has to do with what we call the Santa Ana winds. So let's go back to the graphic where we look at Los Angeles International, and Jackie, you can see off in the distance that haze already. Yeah, you can see it. And honestly, I don't really look at Los Angeles Airport live often, but I feel like it looks pretty quiet.
It is only 7:37.
Yeah, look at the bottom on the right hand side, right next to your head.
You're right.
That's the that's the buildup, So it gets a tremendous amount of play. 45 degrees right now in Los Angeles. Winds are very light. That's why you're not seeing the winds there. But here's a key. Look at that dew point, 22, and the humidity at 40%. And I think that this becomes kind of the issue we're going to be talking about. So there's these things called red flag warnings. And Jack, if you want to talk a little bit about what that means.
So it's basically any time we get watches and warnings, they're put out by the National Weather Service offices. So there's a red flag warning in effect. I wonder how many people that includes. That includes a big area.
It's
huge
ginormous.
Area, yeah. And basically it's just when you have all those ingredients to start wildfires and to also spread them easily, that's when the National Weather Service puts those red flag warnings out. And usually, actually pretty much always, we never see them go out this far.
Right.
These are in effect, last time I checked, until 9 p.m. Wednesday. And today is 10:30 on Monday.
Right. So you talk 48 hours plus of having a red flag. Yeah, usually they're out for 18 to 24 hours, right? So like we may get them, when we get red flag warnings, they're issued like, let's say Friday afternoon for Saturday, that kind of a thing, right? And then they're done. but these weather conditions are not going to change. And that presents the issue here. Here's a look at where those fires are right now. And the smoke is blowing kind of down and south off of the water, or off of the land to the water, because of these, what we call Santa Ana winds. And so that asks the question, what are Santa Ana winds? Jack?
Oh, you're asking me. Okay.
If you want to know.
So basically, we have something called upslope winds, downslope winds. But in California, the Santa Ana winds have to do with all the cold air flowing over the mountains and down. So you have all this strong wind flowing down. It dries out. It warms up. And also it speeds up, especially when it goes through canyons. So you have like that wind tunnel effect. And it's not good for wildfires. It's not good for spreading the wildfires.
Right.
And I mean, last week, if anyone was watching the news, you saw there was a hurricane force Santa Ana winds. It was insane.
It was 80 to 100 miles per hour, which is totally insane. So I've been out in California for the Santa Anas, and the best, quote unquote, best as a meteorologist, right? We always say that I've ever experienced is like 50 to 60, which is strong winds, right?
That is
and
strong.
they howl for hours. And so the problem is, if you get this ember, however it starts, and unfortunately 90% of the time it's man-made starting, right? Careless, whatever the case may be. Once that starts, it spreads super rapidly because of those strong winds and the extreme dry conditions. And so when we talk about fire weather here, we talk about a couple of things, right? We talk about temperatures being fairly comfortable in the 60s, humidity being way down, and you're seeing that there. And by the way, this is for the Los Angeles Basin area. And then winds kicking up. And so you see those winds are going to get stronger. And I plotted here for our discussion the sustained winds. These aren't even gusts. So you're talking some pretty strong winds just sustained as well, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, and you could just see how dry that is. That's very dry. And we're going to show you, I mean, to put it into perspective, how dry it actually is. So, yeah, so this is the past 30 days, basically the deficit, and 0%. 0%. I mean, they have had no rain.
Right. We plotted this up, and you looked at me and go, 0%. I go, that means they've had no rain. And so then you put together this graphic.
Because I thought it like something was wrong with their data
Right.
when I first started. But then I'm like, okay, let me go back and look at the reports. And unfortunately, in December, only 1 day it rained, 0.01 inches of rain.
And the thing is, this could have actually been sometimes when the marine layer comes in, it actually is moist enough to drop some droplets. So that's even what that could have been. And typically in Southern California, from San Diego all the way up to the middle of the state, this is the rainy season. You know, we often hear about the Pineapple Connection and blah, 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 Pineapple Express. Really from mid-November to mid-March, they get a rain. That's all the rain they get during the entire year falls to that. And you get the snow that forms in the mountains, and you get all this great stuff. And they haven't seen anything. Now, we plotted December. We could have shown November, and it was the same thing. And that's the problem. And we did create, you did, Jackie, the calendar for January.
Yep.
And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And there's nothing coming for these people in terms of relief. Now, what will help? The Santa Anas will die down. The weather patterns will change. We'll get an onshore flow, that is water, that is air blowing from the Pacific Ocean onto land. That increases the humidity, which helps firefighters. But I mean, there's not a whole lot right now that's going to help these firefighters.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I wish we could just put rain and bring it somewhere else, but
yeah. Just cannot at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's the story of what's going on there. So, kind of recapping, the Santa Anas are going to kick up again today, possibly gusting 50, 60 miles per hour, not as strong as last week, but certainly strong enough to spread these flames, these fires even more. There's numerous evacuations. If I bring that graphic back up here, again, just to kind of show you, grab this picture here. You can see, again, there's two major areas we're looking at, one north of Pasadena, one between Malibu and Santa Monica if we slide in. And, again, these are just devastating fires as we've seen the pictures.
And the bigger one, the Palisades?
The Palisades fire, yeah.
Only 14% contained,
oh, wow.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
Not good at all.
No.
All right, let's talk about some good things. Last week, Jackie, before I went on my mini vacation, you said to me, hey, I did some research, and it looks like 2024 was the warmest ever for Richmond. And so we looked at the numbers, and we sent an email to a climate group that we work with once in a while. And I said, look, Jackie found this. Is this what you're seeing? And they said, yeah, we were going to release this on Friday. So Jackie scooped them.
Yeah, look at me go.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this is good news because we don't want to keep seeing hot years.
Right.
I mean, and highlighted in yellow is any year that happened in the past 10 years. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of the last 10 years have made it on to the top 10 hottest years in Richmond.
Yep.
And then, by the way, I did mention this a lot on air last week when I was showing it, but this includes the high temperature and low temperature averaged together. So you might be thinking 61, that's not that hot, but it's also including those overnight lows from January 1st through December 31st.
Yeah, I mean, and when even if you take after the past 10 years, you see 2011 is number 6, you see number 3 is 2012. So in the 2000s, we own 7 of the top 10, actually 8 if you close 2006 there. 8 of the top 10s since 2000. So yeah, I mean
crazy.
this is a big problem. And so we just had some snow, and we always get the comments. It never snows like it used to. We used to get snow. I used to be stuck in my house in 1970. Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to show you some data that shows you're right. We don't get snow like we used to get for sure.
The other thing too that I saw on this graphic that was kind of interesting. 2023 was 2 years ago now because we're in 2025, but we jumped 0.4 degrees.
Which is a huge
It's not
jump.
even just 0.1, 0.2 like you see in many other years. So, yeah.
Yeah. If you don't think that the Earth is warming, that things are changing, that we're never going to be able to convince you.
Yeah.
Things are happening at a very fast rate. That is just the honest truth.
I mean, even just this year, the hurricane season, record-breaking, first ever Category 5.
You mentioned that
storm in the Atlantic by weeks. It
was like late June, wasn't it? Yeah. So our ocean. When you get numbers like this, and we're just looking at Richmond as a capsule, and we could have brought the graphs that show like the whole northern hemisphere was warmer. But this keeps our oceans warmer throughout the entire year, which makes them exponentially warmer during hurricane season. It also adds more fuel when you get severe weather, or even when you get the potential for snowstorms. You're able to put in more moisture into these to get more of a sleet mixture, a freezing rain mixture, or snow, those kinds of things. So there are things that happen that show you that there is a warming going on here. Yeah. So, all right, let's continue on here. So let's talk about snow. So since January 1st, we have cooled down. Now we just talked about how hot it was, right? And we finally, for snow lovers, have seen some snow. And I think that this is a really cool graphic because since January 1st, we've had 6.5 inches of snow, which is for the entire winter season, right? And by the way, this is probably important. When we talk about the winter season, we're looking at meteorological winter, which is December, January, February, right?
Because, I mean,
we'll go on.
And me and Delaney did a Weather University episode on this, why we have meteorological seasons, because there would be no way to track it because it depends on when the solstice and the equinox?
Solstice, an equinox,
okay. That just blinked out of my mind for a second. I was like, is that the right word? Because sometimes 21st, sometimes 22nd. So that's why we use meteorological seasons for those that are wondering.
Correct. For the month up until this point, we should normally have just over an inch. So we're well past that. But what I like is in a normal winter, we should have 3 inches up to this point, and we're well past that. Yeah. But Jackie, for those snow lovers who say, this is nothing, we used to get a lot more. You sure did.
Yeah.
Here's your top 10.
And also, something interesting to note, we saw a lot of 2000s in our top 10 warmest, the top 10 snowiest, no 2000s.
Correct.
The latest year, 1995, the year I was born, to 1996, this winter season. So I think that's the latest, Yeah,
that was a pretty big one. There was some, when we had the snowstorm, not the one that we just had this weekend, but the one
Last
previous
weekend,
weekend, there were some comments from some people on my page. Hey, remember the one in 95 when there was not supposed to be anything? John tells me about this all the time. Like, it was a storm coming up from the south, and all the models had shown, and that there were many models back in 95. There was like 2. There was the NGM, what we called the no good model, and the LFM, which was even worse, but the limited fine mesh model. Limited fine mesh, what it stood for. Anyway, long story short, like they had like partly sunny to like an inch of snow. And John's looking at it, and all of a sudden, that like this is back in the days of the printer would go,
Oh, goodness.
and John's looking at it as it's coming over the teletype, and he's looking, goes, uh-oh, this is going to be a major change. And like, so he conservatively went for like 2 to 4 inches of snow, and then that night at 11, I think he upped it to like 7 to 12 or something.
Oh my goodness.
And I think we ended up with like, if again, numbers might be off here, like 18 or 20 or something like that. And it was just an absolute disaster. Yeah.
That also goes to show how much improvement we've seen with our weather models over the last
decade.
Few
Like
decades.
this past snowstorm, you and JB calling for 3 to 5 inches of snow across the heart of Metro. And if we plot the map and we have, it was 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. It all worked out really well. Even the previous one, we were a smidge high on some of the numbers. The sleet came in earlier, but still, came pretty close. But back to the top 10, Jack.
Yeah.
We're not seeing anything like this. I do remember.
I wish.
Yeah. Well, you wish. I don't.
Many people probably don't, so sorry, everyone. But I do.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, we're fine. There's many people who would love to see a big, good old-fashioned snow, a foot and a half, that kind of a thing. And back in December of 2010, where I live in southwestern Chesterfield and Moseley, we did have, or maybe it was 16.
I think it was 2010 because I remember on the White Christmas.
Right, we
list,
had something there. Yep,
and it was a good amount.
In 16, I think we also had a big snowstorm as well. But you get these every once in a while. Just right now. Now we're in a cold pattern.
Did I tell you I went sledding?
I saw some pictures that you did go sledding.
It was so much fun.
Was it? You felt like a little kid again?
Yes, I loved it. I didn't have a sled though. So I brought a cardboard box.
If you had told me, you could have ran to my house and grabbed. We have like 3 sleds.
Yeah, I didn't. And then I had my snowboard, and I went down a couple times standing on my snowboard, but I went down sitting, and that's when I took a bad wipeout. But it was fun. It was fun. I made some friends. Another couple around my age, they had a cardboard box, and they offered me their cardboard box, and they took the snowboard. So yeah,
that's good.
Go sledding. All right. It's fun.
We have been really cold since the start of January, with the exception being New Year's Day. Since then, we have kind of slid down. And this is what's helped us get the snow, right? We finally have gotten some cold weather. But here's something interesting as we continue on. Outside of today, Jack, really, that trend is a little bit below normal, hitting above today, matching normal Saturday, above Sunday. But here's the reveal. We talked about this a lot on the air. Deep blue. Look at the key under the word outlook. Now let's widen that out. And notice the time. January 21 to 27. When you have that much blue on the map, it's not leaving on the 28th. It's not leaving. This is probably going right into the beginning of February.
Yep.
So something that we often look at when we look at these big patterns, right? So look at how far deep that cold air goes all the way down to the Texas and the Gulf. That tells me that somewhere during this pattern, the jet stream is going to be dipping down to the Gulf. And if we could get a piece of energy and it rides just right, maybe, just maybe, we could get more snow.
Yes.
Something to watch.
I'm excited. Also, something important to note on this graphic.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people always kind of get confused. They're like, okay, how cold? But it's below average for every area. Like our average high is what, 47 this time of year?
Yep.
So we're not talking about 20s. We're just talking about below average.
Below average. And remember,
and that's for like Texas too and stuff, everywhere.
And the temperature is about the average for the day and night. It's your average temperature for the day, which goes back to that graphic when we were really warm. We had to merge all the highs and lows together to get an average temperature. So if, let's just say, for instance, let's make it simple. If the average low is 30 and the average high is 50, then the average temperature is 40. So below average might be 35 or 37 or 30, depending on how cold it is. The fact that we're that deep, rich blue, we know it's another good push of Arctic air coming in.
But also no warmer than average at all.
Usually, you're right. Usually East Coast cold, West Coast warm. But this is a full continental type of cold. Yeah.
Snow for all.
With that, I'm going to quit. No, I'm just kidding.
Did we get any questions? I don't think so.
I don't know if we did or not anyway. But we appreciate you joining us as always. Jack, anything you'd like to say to round this out?
No, I mean, thinking about everyone in California and all those impacted. And, yeah, that's really it.
That's it. Enjoy the nice day today. Cold weather's coming, and maybe for some of you some snow. Jacqueline Waters, I'm Matt DiNardo. We wish you all the best. Have a great day.